Hey guys, it's Prince Rich with Rich Technology Group, and welcome to another episode of Viewer Commentary Q&A. So, before we get into the subject of this video and the question that one of our viewers asked on the channel, for those of you who are new to my channel or this series, Viewer Commentary Q&A is basically an ongoing series of questions that I look for that people are asking on my YouTube channel about different things about, can I do this, or how does this work in regards to internet? Or can I do this, or how does this work in regards to business phone systems of this particular carrier? I basically go looking for comments from you guys and highlight one of the comments in a video such as this and basically answer the question and dive into the various aspects, pros and cons, and to the best of my ability, answer the question for not only that viewer, but also anybody else who might be looking for an answer to this question. So, again, if you're watching this video and you have a question about internet or phone service in relation to business that you would like for me to answer, feel free to comment on any of our videos on the channel, and I might actually do a video on it and also mention who you are on the video as well. So without further ado, let's jump into this question. This question was actually asked by YouTube user Jason K, who asked, so if I make a call from the RingCentral mobile app, does it use my cell phone data or does it use my airtime or plan minutes? This is a great question because back when I first adopted voice over IP and a mobile app became a thing, I actually wondered the same thing because at the time I wasn't using a data plan for my cellular carrier that had unlimited minutes or unlimited, data usage or whatever. So let's start from the top because we're going to touch on a few points here. First of all, RingCentral's mobile app, like many of the other carriers, does have a feature, and this isn't unique to RingCentral's mobile app, but it is a feature that they offer. RingCentral's mobile app does have the feature, like most all other carriers, to be able to basically tell the app whether to use your data, i.e. your LTE, your 4G, or your 5G, or to basically instruct the app to use the cellular towers, the same signal or the same data or outside external source that it would use if you were making a phone call to somebody, like calling a friend or calling a business colleague or dialing 911 or something like that, over the actual, as Jason K put it in his question, minutes plan or airways or airtime. So before we move on to the next point, most all mobile apps out there for the carriers that we talk about on our channel, most mainstream guys, including RingCentral, allow for you to be able to, with the flick of a switch and the features in real time, switch between data usage or switch between your actual phone cell tower usage. Let's see here. I am assuming that this person was asking about this to avoid overages and things like that. This function would allow you to be able to do that. For example, I have more or less unlimited call time usage on my cell phone with my data carrier, but I don't have unlimited usage with my data plan. I do have a data cap. So that's an important feature for me to be able to toggle on or off to be able to basically avoid any overages or anything like that, or make sure that I've actually got credit, if you will, available to be able to make or receive the call that I'm doing or send or receive text messages or do a video call through the mobile app. Let's see here. One point that I want to throw out there is you may want to, this function is actually very useful also in being able to toggle between whether you want to use data or whether you want to use the cell towers, depending on what area you're in. For example, I live in a very rural area. So if I leave my house and I venture outside of my Wi-Fi that's in my actual, in my home and throughout the perimeter of my yard, I'm going to probably turn on my mobile app or force the feature in my mobile app to tell it to use the cellular towers because I get much better cellular signal service where I am here than I do LTE or 4G or 5G because I'm very high up and I'm in a very mountainous area. If I go, say, somewhere like the capital or I go, to what we would call to town to run errands, it's basically a major metropolitan area. So I've got, great access to 4G and LTE. So I would probably go ahead and toggle that switch to tell it, don't use the cell towers, use my 4G LTE, i.e. my data plan, because I would get better throughput that way, especially if I'm doing video or something like that. So I just wanted to point out that, again, while it sounds like Jason K is wondering for the sake of not going over his allotted, whatever his cell carrier's plan or allotted allowance is, you can also use this as kind of a strategic way to ensure that you have got decent coverage when you go from a major metropolitan area or an area that's got good coverage to an area where your cellular data might be worse than your data. Your cellular coverage might be worse than your data coverage and vice versa. So let's see here. So that pretty much concludes this video. In short, you can basically control what you would call this feature in each app. I'm not sure. But each app, if you go into the settings, you're going to see something in there that's usually set by default to use your data and your Wi-Fi. Usually the way that I see it work is you cut it off. And by cutting off the function that says, by default, use my data and Wi-Fi to make and receive calls through my mobile app, when you cut that off, by proxy, it's just going to go ahead and use your cell tower plan or whatever to make the calls. It may differ in the different apps depending on what you're looking at, whether you're maybe using Zoom or you're using RingCentral or Vonage or something like that, but that's usually the general gist of it. But I want to point out that usually by default, if you haven't changed the setting, it's already set by default to use the Wi-Fi signal that you're on. So like if you connect to, say, a Wi-Fi at Starbucks or Panera Bread or whatever it may be, a McDonald's, or the Wi-Fi in your home office or something like that. And if you venture outside of the zone of a trusted Wi-Fi setting that you've got in your cell phone, it will usually automatically start using your data plan. So again, to reiterate, most mobile apps, unless you've changed the setting, it's set to use data, whether that be data LTE or 4G or 5G or your Wi-Fi. And if you cut out off that setting, it just by default uses your cellular towers. Let's see here. One other thing that I want to just point out in closing, be mindful, like I mentioned in the beginning, and part of the reason why I think Jason K maybe asked this question, be mindful that if you're not on some sort of unlimited plan with an AT&T or Verizon Wireless or a Sprint or T-Mobile, and you decide to cut off the data part of it or venture outside of your Wi-Fi, you may be subjected to charges and things like that. I want to be very clear. You will never, from what I understand, unless you're making long distance calls internationally, you will never typically get any type of charge from your voice over IP carrier, i.e. RingCentral, in the context of this question. If you get any type of charges, it's going to potentially be overages because, yes, while you have unlimited calling with, say, RingCentral, in the context of Jason K's question, if you talk 1,000 minutes on your RingCentral mobile app and you've got the app switched to use the cellular service and you've only got 500 minutes a month with Sprint or T-Mobile or whoever your wireless carrier is, well then yeah, you're either going to get cut on the call, they're either going to cut you off and you're just not going to be able to use that's how my carrier does it. They don't charge any overages. I just can't make any more calls unless it's an emergency call. Or you might get hit with overages, with overage fees. So I just want to throw that out there just to be clear and make sure nobody comments on my post and says, hey, Prince, you didn't tell me I was going to get hit with overages if I go over. Just to be clear. This is why data is usually the safer one to use or somebody's Wi-Fi, but just want to throw that out there. Anyways, if you're watching this video and you're interested in RingCentral or their mobile app, I work with RingCentral on literally a daily basis. I can get you better pricing with them than if you shop direct yourself. I can also help you find out if RingCentral even makes sense for your business or not. My service is free. I'm paid directly by the service providers for helping match you up with the right service provider for your business. If you found this video helpful, please like the video. Also, remember to subscribe to our channel. We upload new videos every single week. Prince Rich with Rich Technology Group, your go-to guy for the best deals on business phone and internet service in the United States. I'll catch you guys again in the next video.